Hello, film fans. Welcome to the Film vs. Film podcast. My name is Martin Harries, your host, and I'm joined by the film encyclopedia man, Boaz Dix. We are a couple of filmmakers on occasion, but mainly can't stop yapping about movies. On this podcast, every episode we pick a topic from a film that's coming out at the cinema or on VOD. Myself and Boaz pick our favourite film from that topic, and we battle it out to decide which film will become the greatest film of all time, according to two film geeks from Wiltshire, England. If you enjoy this podcast, please leave us a review and subscribe. Sup, film fans? This is the Film vs. Film podcast. This week we are talking versus films, as in versus in the title. So as Godzilla vs. Kong will be hitting VOD in the US on the 31st of March and in the UK on the 1st of April, we'll be having a look at versus films. So, as ever, I'm joined by the Mr. Encyclopedia man, that is Boaz Dix. How are you?
I'm very good.
Good. What's your pick for this week?
My pick is Monsters vs. Aliens.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah. Hell to the years. It's a DreamWorks movie, isn't it? DreamWorks. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
What's the plot of this one?
So, the plot of this is... in an animated land far, far away, where it's about an asteroid crashes to Earth on top of a woman who's getting married. She turns ginormous. She is kidnapped by the government and put in an undisclosed facility with other monsters. A lot later, aliens land on Earth to try and get the power from this meteorite, and then the government uses the monsters and her to battle the aliens.
It's only like one alien to start off with.
It is, yeah.
And then it turns into lots of aliens.
Yeah.
Let's go straight into directing then. Yeah, I did enjoy this film. I think there are better films of this type of genre, I think. But I kind of love the opening joke, though, with the DreamWorks animation logo, with like the flying saucer abducting the fishing guy, and it's all like in black and white. Yeah. And you know right from the off that this film is going to be riffing on like the old 50s B movies and things and sci-fi films of that era. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, no, I thought it's quite a fun film, actually. I don't think it's like it's nowhere near like DreamWorks' best. You know, it can't touch Kung Fu Panda or anything like that, but it is still like I think it's a good B movie that riffs on B movies, and you know, and it's just it's just a lot of fun, and like the action set pieces as well are pretty cool, especially like in the city, the city fight the first fight she has.
Oh yeah, in San Francisco, where she puts on like cars for rollerblades. Yeah, that was quite fun.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was quite creative, the action in that scene in San Francisco. But yet again, the Golden Gate Bridge gets destroyed.
I know.
I mean, how many times has that happened?
Monsters are just drawn to that bridge. They hate that bridge. You never see them take down any other bridge.
Yeah, was it Gareth Evans' Godzilla? He destroys it.
Yeah.
X-Men Last Stand.
Yeah, Magneto. He destroys it.
Magneto.
Yeah. Have you watched The Core?
The Core?
Yeah.
No.
It's where they have to restart the Earth's core, and the Golden Gate Bridge gets melted.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
New creative way for the Golden Gate Bridge to be destroyed.
Yeah,
let's melt it this time.
Yeah, exactly. It was like the sun. The sun's rays just melt it. Melt it apart. Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, I do like the monsters in this, actually. You know, referring back to old classic films. You know, Link is very much referring to the creature from the Black Lagoon from 1954. Bob the Blob is referring to the Blob in 1958.
Yeah.
Susan is Ginormica and referring to the film, a very creative title of Attack of the 50-Foot Woman.
Yeah. I've not watched that. That sounds insane.
And then there's kind of like loose references for Dr. Cockroach, referring to like the original Fly film, and Insectosaurus to Mothra in, you know, the Godzilla movies. So I enjoyed all that stuff. That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
I kind of like the Independence Day riff as well, with the the first alien assault. The robot alien.
Oh yeah.
And all the fighter jets trying to take it out. That was quite fun.
Yeah.
The president is a bit annoying though. I'm not sure the jokes with the president always worked.
Like the president playing the keyboard to like all these really fast cuts didn't really work for me. You know, I think that's with his character, they were kind of like trying too hard at times.
I think there are quite a lot of jokes that are thrown out. I would say like half of them don't work in general, but you're esconded by quite a lot per second, and there are some really good ones, you know, that make it through.
Oh yeah, one thing I found really odd at the start was just like playing catch with a meteorite is never going to end well for Susan. When she's literally trying to run away from it, but I'm like, you're just running towards it. I'm not sure that was done amazingly. But it was just this whole classic thing of just run sideways. What are you doing? You know, that Prometheus thing with Charlize Theron's character. I'm just like, this is not going to end well.
Maybe she hasn't watched that film yet. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't exist in this universe.
But one of my favorite shots and one of my favorite like in jokes that I've seen in a long time was when Susan is being shown round like the monster facility and she sees Bob throwing a ball inside a cell, which is like two references there. Because first, he's referencing Steve McQueen, you know, in The Great Escape, in the cooler, you know, throwing the baseball against the wall, which is a classic thing there. And then the fact that the character is a blob, which is referring to Steve McQueen's first ever film called The Blob.
Wow.
So I thought, oh, this is fucking amazing. I love that.
That's a pretty good nod.
That was really cool. Yeah, the you know, the San Francisco fight, chase scene was quite creative, but I'm not sure the rest of the other action scenes were as creative.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree with that. Yeah, I think it was definitely like the high point of the film, like action wise. Like, you know, it's scary. Like she's huge and she feels huge, but then that thing feels like twice her size, and you know, and it's just a lot of cool things happening. Dr. Cockroach making a fucking rocket tram, yeah, like a rocket tram. And yeah, it's just so much cool stuff happening, you know. And that's like the first like introductory scene. That's like the first like action scene where she's like, you know, embracing her powers and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, I feel I wanted more alien stuff. It was very monsters heavy in this film. Like Galaxar, you only really see him until like 45 minutes into the film, and that's like halfway through. You know, this is a fairly short film, 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a bit monsters top heavy, really.
Yeah. It definitely feels pretty short. It does feel like it's the stepping stone for a sequel that never got made. You know, it's like it's like okay, you can dip your toes in into this universe and like know the characters a bit, and then it kind of ends, and you just does feel like you kind of you're wanting more, basically.
Yeah, I think, you know, this is kind of a film where I see it a lot on like Radio Times on at Christmas. You know, I'm like, oh, Monsters vs. Aliens, I might give that a watch. But I never really tend to watch it all. Something else is always going on. You know, it's like, oh, I got to help do the carrots now for the Christmas meal or something. Yeah, you know, and I wouldn't be that bothered leaving it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, true.
But certainly other films that are on at that time of year, like animated stuff like Bolt or, you know, Megamind. I fucking love Megamind. I would watch Megamind. You know, if I had a choice between this and Megamind, I would choose Megamind every time, I think. Yeah. Possibly. I love that film. That's great. Have you got a favourite shot?
Okay, yeah. I think I'll go between two different ones. So,
yeah.
One is where she throws the needle at that guy's foot. I thought that was hilarious.
Oh yeah. I was tempted to write that down.
Yeah,
but I was like, no.
Yeah. That's one of just my favorite things, and especially because it happens at the beginning. It's like a really funny. I think
it's a giant needle.
It's a giant needle. They you know, stick in her butt, and she takes it out and throws it at the general, and you think she's missed because it's right next to him, and then he just screams like, you know, got him in the foot. It's such a simple, stupid thing, but I just quite liked it. And the other one is, I think, when she's in the city and she's escaping the thing, and then suddenly she sees, like, you know, while she sees the creature just, like, above, you know, the robot above the building, and it shines a light at her. I just thought that was pretty cool. There's definitely a shot of, like, oh, shit, this is serious. Yeah, I quite like that shot.
I love how, like, massive Insectosaurus though, compared to Susan.
Yeah.
You know, he's huge,
He
and
is
the
pretty
sound design really helps with that as well. I thought the sound in this film was actually really quite good. To make, you know, the robot monster and Insectosaurus especially just sound humongous.
Yeah.
You know, I thought that was really well done.
Yeah, definitely.
So score for me, I'd go like 6.8
Okay.
for me.
Yeah, I think that sounds actually quite fair. Yeah, I think I would go maybe 6.8, yeah.
All right, screenplay then. Yeah, there's quite a lot of funny moments, to be fair,
Yeah.
and some really weird, like, stupid humor that
Yeah.
makes no sense. It's just very odd. Yeah, I'll just go with my favorite line straight off. Like, when at the end, when the general is talking to the monsters, and you know, after they've defeated the aliens, and he says to them, "Monsters, I'm so proud of you I could cry if I haven't lost my tear ducts in the war.
Yeah.
But not crying will have to wait." I'm like, that makes no sense.
None of that
at
makes
all.
any goddamn sense. Yeah.
But it's so funny,
Yeah.
you know, but you can't help but just feel like this is stupid and makes no sense. Why am I laughing?
Yeah. There are a lot of really stupid moments that I just
How
think
do
are
you
so
lose
funny.
your tear ducts?
Yeah. But I love actually the whole scene. I think is so well scripted where they go to the presidential bunker and everything like that or whatever. You know, the first time, and just there's so many jokes like just so quickly, and it's all just so ridiculous. Like, you know, they're discussing and they're like, "Oh, we should get him a green card. Get the alien a green card," and just all this absolute nonsense. And like, you know, sometimes I ask myself, what would Oprah do? It's like, what the fuck is going on? I love when he even talks about like the monsters, W.R. Monger, and he says it's in a secure facility. Even mentioning it is a federal offence. And one guy goes, "Is he talking about area?" And he gets hit by a poison dart.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, yeah, I thought so. That whole scene just had so much, like so many lines in it. Where you're like, what? Just very kind of absurdist humour.
There's another like weird, stupid one where they're all in like the alien ship, and you know all the clones are being made, and they're all walking around the spaceship, and they're all disguised as you know, clones with just the uniform, but yet they look literally nothing like them at all.
Yeah.
And one of the Galaxar clones says, "Take the defective clone to the incinerator.
Yeah.
Here, have a security pass just in case. Would you like a gun?"
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like
And it's
that.
just like, he looks nothing like you, dude.
But I like how even, what was it, Dr. Cockroach is like, it's like, seriously? Like, you know, you're buying this? What the fuck? I also like Galaxar's announcement to mankind.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Have no fear, I come in peace. For a side note, most of you will die, and the rest of you will be enslaved and experimented on. So, to recap,
Yeah.
I come in peace, I mean you no harm, and you all will die. You know? Well, that was really fun.
Galaxar out.
Galaxar.
Yeah, that was brilliant. I mean, this story is it's kind of a weird, like, rom-com in the end. And learning, well, both these films are kind of like rom-coms and learning, like, self-respect
Yeah.
kind of thing. Because obviously Susan is, I mean, even with the first dialogue scene with Susan and her fiance, you're like, yep, he's a prick, he's a douchebag.
Yeah.
You know, and at the end, when she's talking to him, when there's the camera there, I'm like, yep, just flick him now, flick him out of there.
Yeah. I think, like, the story structure, by and large, takes no risks, and you kind of know what the fuck's
Yeah.
going to happen almost beat by beat from when the movie starts.
Which is absolutely fine.
Which
I
is
don't
fine.
need to-
Which is absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to, like... not every film has to be, like, completely out of the box sometimes, you know.
I mean, it's a kids' film at the end
Yeah,
of the day. I
yeah,
don't think
true.
there's too much for adults. There is quite a lot for adults, to be fair. But,
Yeah.
you know, it's just all the references for adults, I guess. But it's just like a nice, fun romp, really.
Yeah.
There's some other great stuff as well. One of my favourites is where Susan meets the other monsters for the first time, and Bob the Blob asks her, "So what's your monster name? What do people scream when they see you coming? You know, look out, here it comes." And she just says, "Susan."
Yeah. Susan. Ooh, that's actually
know.
really scary.
Yeah. You know, and then when Bob, fucking love Seth Rogen as Bob. He's brilliant.
Yeah, I think he's my favourite character there.
Yeah, same, I think.
Yeah.
And like when he gets stomped on by the alien foot, and and he says, I got him, guys. Don't worry. And it comes up again.
I'm slowing him down.
I'm wearing him down.
Yeah, that was
I'm
funny.
wearing him down.
Yeah, that was really funny.
Please tell me he's slowing down.
Yeah.
Like, nope, sorry, dude.
Yeah. I like even when they're all going to die, and he's like, I will see you guys tomorrow. Yeah, we're going to have cake and balloons. Cake and balloons for lunch? You guys are awesome. It's like, got no clue.
And he has a really sweet ending as well. He gets together with the green jelly with the pineapple.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy for him, you know.
Yeah.
One of my favourite gags as well is when Susan is about to introduce the monsters to her family, and she just says, "Just follow my lead," and then accidentally like crushes one of the picket fences.
Oh, yeah, that was
and
good.
then they all go nuts.
Yeah,
like,
they just
destroy
start
everything.
breaking everything. You're going to smash up her car or whatever.
Yes, loads of cool lines, to be fair. Like, the Omega Quadrant. Lame.
Yeah.
And then there's like a news anchor that comes on and he says, once again, a hang on.
A UFO has landed in America. The only country UFOs ever seem to land in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry to cut you off. I just know I could have done
That's
a better
fine.
impression.
All right. I thought I was the impression dude in this podcast.
Oh, no. You're the delusional one, obviously.
Really?
Yeah.
Let's let the listeners decide.
Yes, we will. It's not going to be much of a contest, but yeah.
All right. We may come to blows through the screen. And the alien computer says, like, 3, 2, 1. Nothing happened. Maybe the countdown.
Yeah, that was good. I like that.
Yeah, I forgot to say in the directional bit. Both films have a dance mat scene.
Yeah.
And, like,
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe they were written by the same guy.
it's just quite a cool coincidence. But one has a PhD, so
Yep.
you know.
A pretty huge diploma.
Again, the tone is lowered. So screenplay for me, I think, I really appreciate the nods to like 50s movies of the B movie era. These great classic monster films. I've seen some of them, and some of them are genuinely quite scary. Like Creature from the Black Lagoon, I really like that one. Yeah, again, as we've said, the script doesn't particularly take any risks, but again, that's completely fine. I don't think it needs to really.
Yeah,
I think some of the action could have been a lot more creative. So yeah, I think I'll probably go with like a 7, solid 7.
I think the strong suit of the script is not necessarily the story structure. It's got a little heart, but I think it's the humor. It's like he just tries to. Whoever wrote the screenplay packs like every scene with just so many lines. And while there are some misses, there are so many like good, memorable hits.
Yeah.
I would say I would rewatch it just for that. Just some of the jokes, especially Bob. Oh, I forgot to say there aren't just those monsters that show up. There's also a monster that cameos in the film, the Invisible Man. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Do you remember that? I like that.
Yeah, it's like, oh, he's still there.
Yeah, he's still there. Like he's dead. He died in that chair. He's still there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. And so I don't know. I'd probably give it like a 7.2, just because it's quite.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just quite funny. I think most characters get some really funny lines. Like even Galaxar. Like I like the whole. There were innocent people on my planet before it was destroyed. I'm sorry about your planet. Don't be. I destroyed it. Stuff like that. Yeah, I just love that. It's just so stupid,
Yeah.
but it's funny.
I guess for me, like with the monsters, they're not integral to like the creativity, to the action. With Link, yeah, he swims a bit and just punches a few aliens, but that's about it. Dr. Cockroach, yeah, he invents like a fast tram, but there's not a lot else really to his character. A lot of the characters are there for the humor, especially Bob as well. The only useful thing he does is just moves like the blockades on the bridge so the people can leave.
Yeah. Do you remember when they were running through the other Galaxar clones? I think Bob's thing of like was eating and shitting out like 5 of them. Just I like that. That was good. I think that was probably the most
Yeah.
creative use of action in the film. Because it's mainly like Jane Omaka just like trying to lift things. Her whole lift pose of, this is very heavy. And the other one's just, not really doing much. But I like that bit. I think that stuck with me.
So acting, again, it's difficult to talk about acting when it's an animated film.
Yeah. And it's also, it's not like it's trying to be like amazingly deep or whatever. It's over the top and it's ridiculous. And, the acting sort of exemplifies that. It's just meant to be like a...
But when I read Keith Sutherland play the general, I was really surprised. I was like, oh, really?
Yeah.
He did an amazing job. I did not think it was Keith Sutherland at all. He puts like a really great accent on that.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
For that character. I was really surprised. But yeah, my other standout performances with their voice. Hugh Laurie was great as Dr. Cockroach.
Yeah, he was,
he puts on like a really strong, like, English accent. And I think that certainly requires a lot of effort. I guess he is quite used to doing that anyway with his TV work in the past. That requires that sort of energy, and it is exhausting.
Yeah.
I would imagine. So he does great. Like, who's your favorite character, voice-wise?
Voice-wise, I think I would go with Monga just because it's Keith Sutherland, or if you look at the thing, it's Keith Sutherland, and he's just so different and so like the stereotypical gruff army general. I would say my favorite character probably just all around is probably Bob, but yeah.
Yeah, my favorite character certainly with their voice is Ryan Wilson's Galaxar.
Yeah, he's quite fun.
He's really, really quite cool.
Oh, he also sounds really over the top, doesn't he? He's like...
Yeah.
with his villain monologues. I'm Galaxar and all that stuff. He's just,
But I think if you compare it to other animated films of this ilk, like Megamind, I think Megamind is so much better, though, for me. Yeah. Incredible performance. But I think that's just because he's very integral. Well, he's the title character, and like... As we said, this film is very much top-heavy with monsters and not enough aliens for me. Yeah, I'll give it 7.1 for acting. How about you, sir?
Yeah, maybe 6.9.
Cool. Right, let's add up the scores then for Monsters vs. Aliens. Monsters...
Did you turn into an alien? What the fuck was that?
That literally sounded like the squids, aliens, in this film as they move.
Yeah.
Anyway. Monsters vs. Aliens gets 41.8, which is not great, to be fair.
Oh, no.
Right, moving on then to my pick, which is Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, directed by Edgar Wright, one of our best directors working at the moment for me. I really love this film. I think it's great.
Yeah.
I really do. So a bit about this film. It's basically set in kind of this weird, like, gaming movies, fantasy world.
Yeah,
where
called
they all
Toronto.
kind of have...
The fictional land of Toronto.
Yeah. And we meet this character called Scott Pilgrim, and he's basically... upset about leaving his ex-girlfriend, and he's dating a girl called Knives Chow, who's literally 17 and still at school, and he's just like, fucking dickhead, what are you doing? Not a lot of these characters are particularly likable, but anyway. And then he basically sees this girl, Ramona Flowers, with the coloured hair, and he's like, oh my god, I gotta try and, go out with this girl.
Yeah. He sees her in a dream first, doesn't he?
Yeah, and then he soon discovers that he's got to defeat her 7 evil exes, and it goes from there in spectacular gaming fashion. So let's kick off then with directing by saying, like, what's your favourite fight?
What's my favourite fight? I think him versus what was it? The vegan. Yeah.
Yeah, Brandon Routh.
Yeah, Brandon Routh. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I love that. I just love it. I love the whole fight. I love the whole scene. Just amazing. I love the ending.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
Because, like, the one with Brandon Routh he's got, like, special like vegan superpowers.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a base battle, isn't it? And yeah.
I loved when he first started using his powers, when he punches out knives and he's like, yeah, I can hit a girl, I'm a rock star. And
Yeah.
and then Scott goes to punch him, and I just love how he stops it. Eyes go white, hair, stands on end. And then the camera zooms out from it, and you have those ripples, those white ripples. I just think that shot, the reveal of it, and that shot, it's just amazing. I was like, whoa! Like, it meant business. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just disappointing, though, that being vegan just doesn't give you superpowers. It's just like, oh,
Yeah.
that's not fair.
Yeah, maybe it does. Maybe they're just not advertising it. They're just like, we're going to keep
Well,
this
you
to
get free
ourselves.
strikes. You
Yeah.
get free strikes, so,
strikes. I thought that was really funny, where he drinks the milk, and they're like, but surely you get 3 strikes. And he was like, you had, what the fuck was it? Was it gelato? He's like, that's not vegan.
Yeah.
And he was like, nope, milk and eggs, bitch. And yeah.
And it was like, chicken's not vegan.
Chicken's not vegan. Yeah.
And a great little cameo by Thomas Jane as well. That was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my favorite fight is probably, I don't know, maybe I think it's probably a tie between the first one and the last one, because the first one is like really awesome with the character called Matthew Patel, and you get the first sense that these fights are kind of like Mortal Kombat East style game where you have the verses come up and you have all these great like gaming sound effects and big punches and kicks with like these ultra slow-mos going on. And in some parts when they're building up to like the big kicks or punches, they go into like this almost like another world where you have all these comic book lines, everywhere going really fast.
Yeah.
And I think from there on, you're either really into this film or you really get turned off and like, what the fuck is this about? It's very like chalk and cheese from there on.
Yeah.
Like you're really with it or you're not.
Yeah, I think like that. There are a lot of scenes earlier on where you do right off the bat it knows its style. It shows you what it is. It's kind of quirky and it's very sort of surreal and very much it's kind of like a hodgepodge world of like manga, comics, 8-bit computer games, arcade games, and like fight beat 'em ups. And they just kind of exists in this sort of pop culture-y, crazy planet.
Yeah, I really like the final fight as well with Gideon. And I love like Scott and Knives like fighting together, and it goes into like a really quick montage of them hitting Gideon over and over again. But it's all done like cut really quickly with like still photographs. It's done really quick. It's just so cool with that, and what's more geekier and awesome than with purple flaming samurai sword versus like a blue glowing 8-bit samurai sword. I'm like, you can't get better than that.
Yeah,
that is really so cool.
Yeah, that was pretty damn cool.
Yeah, I think that's my favorite scene, to be fair. But there's some other really cool bits as well, not just the fights. I love the little montage sequence with Scott like stalking Ramona and asking like loads of people at a party, and then he gets to like Julie Powers, the kind of like annoying friend who's just like really pissed off at Scott like all the time, it seems. And when she gets really annoyed with Scott, like everything goes to black and like the spotlight's just on her, and like there's just like this dramatic noise, and she says, "Forget it, Scott." And then there's like a power cut, and there's loads of like groans in the background, and you get this first sense that it's not just Scott that can interact with his like superpowers, I guess.
Yeah.
But everyone has their own unique thing, and like later on with like Julia Powers, like because she starts swearing a lot, and like you get like the black mark. The black thing goes over her mouth. And
Self-censoring, yeah. I thought that was funny. How the hell are you doing that? He's like...
Yeah. But apparently they had to do that anyway because they were past the amount of like swear words that they could use. So they had no choice
that's funny.
to do that, to still have like a 12 or whatever.
Yeah. What was it? Because you can have one hard swear word in a... to get a 12A or something like that. Keep it 12A.
Yeah, what, like a fuck or something?
Yeah. I think you're going to have one hard swear, and then that's it. A kind of unrelated to this film, and you can cut this out, but I thought it was fun. Have you ever watched the film Get Shorty?
Yeah.
I loved kind of breaking the fourth wall where John Travolta is explaining movie ratings, and he said, "Do you know in a 12A you can only use one hard swear word? Well, fuck that," and he never swears again. I thought it was amazing, and the film was a 12. Cool. I was like, that is genius.
Yeah, I just thought it's cool, all these characters have all the, something about them that they can influence this world somehow, You don't see it with all of them. There's quite a few characters, but, it's mainly Scott, Ramona, maybe Julia Powers, and a few others, but that's it, really.
Yeah. Oh, and Knives. Knives does some pretty fucking superhuman stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, I would say, his gay roommate has superhuman texting abilities. I just thought that was so funny. Where he's sleeping, he can barely keep his eyes open, and he says, "Oh, I'm going out with Ramona. Well, you got to break up with Knives." And then suddenly his sister calls him. You're dating two girls at once. It's like, how the hell? And he's on his phone and he's texting it to him.
It's just like automatic, though. If something new happens with their relationship, if he talks to Wallace, I think his name is, and it's like his sister literally immediately calls him. Like, what the hell's going on, man? Like, what? How do you know that?
Yeah, that was brilliant.
And one of my favorite transitions actually is when Scott, when they're in one of the band battles, and Scott has been staring at Knives and Ramona, up in the balcony, and his sister asks, "Oh, so how did you meet Scott?" And then there's this big wide shot on the balcony, and it all goes to black, but just focuses on those two, and then you see the close up of Michael Cera superimposed in the background, and they're in the foreground kind of thing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And Michael Cera's head is just right there behind them. You're like, oh no, I'm in a nightmare now.
Yeah, I like
Shit,
that.
What am I gonna do? And then he says, "We need to play now and loud."
Yeah, that's brilliant. The film is surreal. It's surreal as hell, but it's fun. It's a lot of fun. Oh, what was it? Do you remember when they were doing the battle against the other guys, the speaker battle? And they started playing tunes, and a dragon came out of their speakers and stuff. It's like, what the hell?
Oh yeah, and a Yeti.
Yeah, and they had a Yeti gorilla.
Cool,
yeah, that was pretty cool. That was nuts.
That was the big special effects scene, I guess.
Yeah. I find it funny how he can kill the X's in front of everybody, and they turn the coins, and everybody's like, cool. Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
And he's like, "Oh, coins!"
Yeah, I thought that was funny. The first one he killed. Oh, but it's not enough for my bus fare home. She's like, "I'll give you 30 cents."
And then at the end, he gets $10 billion or whatever?
Yeah, because doesn't their bandmate goes so how are we getting paid? And it's start picking up his corpse coins. Yeah.
Look around you, man.
Yeah, such a strange film. No, it's great though.
I think one of the scenes that literally encapsulates both Edgar Wright's loves and sensibilities in this film is during the Black Sheep song. Literally one of my favourite songs ever from one of my favourite bands ever, Metric. You get a real sense of, Edgar Wright's love of music and movies in the intertwining. The way the song is cut together, you get the split screens of all the characters in tune to the music. It's just so good, and you get really clear, perceptions of where all these characters are at and all the character conflicts in that, real quick. It's just so brilliant. And normally I don't really like split screen stuff, but I fucking love it in this film. I think it works so well. Even in the battles, there's so much split screen stuff, but it works so well. I mean, there are examples in comic book films where it just doesn't work at all for me. Like X-Men First Class, for me, it doesn't work. I'm just like, what are you doing? With the training stuff. I was like, nah, just no. Stop it.
I think it's less jarring in this film because you know what the style is. Straight off the bat. So, and just the way it's done so smoothly and it's done in a way that it looks quite nice. So, anything that they do.
Yeah, I think in X-Men First Class it is jarring.
It isn't jarring in this film. It does feel like, yeah, of course it's going to have split screens. Of course it's going to have, versus logos. Of course it's going to have, the actual dialogue written. You see the, sound effects. You actually see them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of get used to it. I mean, yeah, it doesn't.
You very
really
much feel like this is from a comic book, straight out of a comic book. Again, I think a bit like with Zack Snyder, Edgar Wright certainly like recreated real comic book panels from Scott Pilgrim comics, like Zack Snyder's done in the past.
Yeah.
That we discussed last week. So Zack Snyder doesn't use split screen, but as you said, it really works well in this one, Scott Pilgrim versus the World. But with Zack Snyder's stuff, it certainly still feels like it is from a comic book as well.
Yeah.
So just two very different styles, but they both feel like they're coming straight from a comic.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that.
So you got a favourite scene or a shot?
When he first actually goes on a date with Ramona and they're in the snow, and then it's just so surreal and it makes no sense, but you go, and she's like, oh, we need to go in. And he goes, yeah, it's cold out here. It's like, there's the door. And it's just a door in the middle of nowhere. And they kind of fly to it. It's so surreal.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Like that.
I like that shot. It was like, what on earth? And, and then they're indoors. But it was just so... It was so 0 to 60, and it's just so weird. But I like that shot. I just thought it was a really nice shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't think it felt jarring either.
Yeah. No. Also, like, the music as well. I like the music in that shot as well. So
yeah,
it does...
the soundtrack in general
Yeah.
is amazing. I've got it on my phone, all the songs, and I really want to get the vinyl. There's lots of different vinyl editions.
Yeah.
There's a 10th anniversary one, which is very expensive. But
bloody hell.
yeah.
Yeah, so I would say that's
I'd love to have it.
probably my favourite shot, because it's just so dreamy and I don't know, and just the way the music works with it as well. It's just I think at that point it's the turning in their relationship. It's like maybe she doesn't like him too. Oh, actually she likes him.
So score for directing, Baz.
It's just it's such a unique looking film. I think I would go maybe 8.5.
You know what? I think I'm going to go quite high with this. I think it's really brave and just incredibly well done. I would happily watch this over and over and not get bored. I
think I agree with you that it does. It's a beautiful looking film. So well done, yeah. And quite a lot.
I mean, there's a lot of special effects work, but they work. You know?
It does work.
It's just so vibrant and awesome. I remember. I love the costuming in this as well. It just reminds me a bit of myself. Like, I used to have, one of those wristbands with like Space Invaders aliens on it. Cool. It's probably still in my drawer, I think, rotting away.
Yeah. And you should cosplay or whatever. Cosplay as a character.
I used to have long hair. If you could imagine that.
No, I can't.
Please don't.
That would be strange. Did you used to colour it pink and purple and other things?
No. I thought about dyeing it black once, but my friend was like, no.
No, he's a bad friend.
It's a terrible idea.
Yeah. I would have said dye it pink, man. Just, be a Ramona for a day.
Yeah. So I'm going to go 9.3, I think.
That is really good. That's a hell of a score, yeah.
All right, screenplay then. It's interesting with the screenplay because there was a lot of interesting things that happened, in pre-production with this film, because ultimately this film was a big flop.
I'm surprised about that. That's kind of strange.
Yeah, I mean, it went to Comic-Con.
I watched this in the cinema.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
I think I did as well. It's the same thing with like Blade Runner 2049. Like that was so good, and that was a massive flop as well. I was like, what the hell? Sometimes you just get these films that seem to be incredibly good. Critically really well received, and they look visually amazing. The action seems amazing, the acting, everything amazing, and yet for some reason people just don't go and see it. I was just like, what? Yeah. And this was kind of the same. I recently listened to a podcast with Edgar Wright talking about the 10th anniversary of this film. There weren't necessarily issues behind the scenes, but there was a lot of worry about how to sell this film. Because, I mean, how the hell do you describe this film in general? I'm like, what genre is it? I mean, it's like a rom-com action film.
Yeah, adventure film. It's a comedy.
It's like Kill Bill with The Graduate. I'm like,
Kill the Graduate.
It's an impossible film to sell for the studio. And Edgar Wright, in one of the pre-production meetings, he had pressure from one of the executives saying that maybe you should put like a training montage for Scott, so you kind of, the audience can see like how he can train to fight in this film. And Edgar was saying that, no, I think you would lose some of the magic in this film, but again, he admitted, but some people would be left confused about, the logic of the film, I think he was basically balancing a double-edged sword kind of thing with this film, as we've said, after the first fight, you're either completely with it or completely not,
I don't know. You can never really predict what's going to do well, to be honest with you. I think this is just the case for many films. There are films which are just, gems, but, they don't get appreciated at the time, and they'll get appreciated 10 years later, and you can never pick. You can never really know, to be honest with you.
It's very much a cult film now, I think.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see what the numbers were, with
DVD sales and stuff like that.
Yeah, and things like that, yeah. And even soundtrack sales, because the soundtrack is really good in this film, I would say. Another thing, like Edgar Wright said with one of the meeting, he called it like a green light meeting, whether to actually go ahead with this film or not. And with the studio, during the meeting and the presentation, it all seemed to go really well. The executives and the studio heads seemed to like it at Universal. But then at the end of the meeting, one of the heads took Edgar aside and wanted to talk to him in private. And he was like, oh, would the movie work without the special effects? And then Edgar was like, I don't know what that film is. And he was just like, I don't know how to answer that question. And it was just, to me, it was just like the studio didn't really have faith in the movie, and they just had no idea how to market the film. And he was like, oh, they kind of wanted to make it look like Juno. There was no, certainly in the initial trailers, there was no footage of the fights or much of the special effects at all. It was, they kind of very much pitched it as, and sold it like it's this, quirky rom-com, really. And possibly one of the reasons why the film didn't make a lot of money.
Yeah.
So it's just really interesting there. I mean, what do you think about like the world in this film? Is this all in Scott's head, or
I hope not, because this is just,
or is it all real?
I like to think it's all real. Yeah, I like to think he's just in a really kind of weird alternate. It could be. I don't know why I never actually kind of considered that it could be kind of make believe, like, and he's got these like high concept ideas, very much influenced by his pop cultured brain.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'd like to think it's real.
Yeah, I think so. As I said, they've all kind of got these weird, quirky powers that they've got. Julia Powers has just this kind of weird angst superpower where she can just highlight herself and just be really pissed off at someone or whatever. Yeah. With censoring the swearing and stuff. Yeah, and they all have literally the ability to fight and stuff. Yeah. But Edgar was saying that it's almost like Scott is watching the film that's in his head, and it's like what you're seeing is what he imagines his film life to be. Okay. So possibly none of it is real, it's just all in his head, but just how he wants you to see it kind of thing, for the audience. But in the end, I'm not sure a lot of that stuff matters, whether, the question of, is this real or not? I think it's just fun to just go with the ride and just enjoy all the references and enjoy these characters. Yeah. And the action is amazing, so.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, if it wasn't real, then I think the reality of it is I don't know, it would be a kind of disappointment. Instead of him getting involved in like some crazy fight, he's just having a talk with each of these people or something. Real life. Like, listen, I like her too. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It'd just be a bit disappointing.
It's interesting with the end as well, because it's like, should Scott be with Ramona or Knives at the end?
I think
because originally,
they did a different cut, and I think test audiences
Yeah.
didn't like that he just left Ramona, or Ramona left him. They thought,
yeah,
what the fuck? Like, he's been fighting this whole movie for her.
they reshot the ending
Yeah.
so Scott would be with Ramona.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things. Like, one, it's a bit satisfying that, yeah, he did win her, but the whole point of the film is she's not that great, and neither is he, and he more learns to, like, love himself and be okay with himself. Do you know what I mean? Like, he apologizes for anything bad, and because I think that's the whole thing. Like, when he redoes the battle, when he does it for love, he loses, and then he what was it? He gains self-respect. So he's not doing it for her at all when he beats Gideon. So yeah, I don't know. So I don't know if the ending kind of maybe the original ending would have probably been a bit better. I do see maybe where test audiences were like, yeah, but he spent most of the movie going after her. Why can't they be together?
But it was interesting what the actress who played Knives said. You know, because obviously Edgar had to break it to her. Like, apparently it was one of the most nervous phone calls he's ever done to say, yeah, we've changed the ending. You don't end up with Scott. But she was like, well, yeah, I think that's actually fine because I don't think my character would have took him back anyway because he cheated on me.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think it was just a doomed relationship anyway.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I don't think.
And also,
I don't
it's
think
just
they
weird. Like, he's like 22 and she's 17.
Yeah,
so,
no, that's true.
know,
I don't think
there's a
they
bit
should.
of a-
Yeah, I don't think they should have been together. I would have. Yeah, I don't know. So was the original ending they were going to be together, and then the alternate one is like him and Ramona?
Yeah, the original ending was Knives and Scott end up together, and then Ramona just goes off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe they should have just had an
That was the
ending where he
original
just
ending.
decides to become friends with each of them, and then just I don't know, just
Yeah.
go alone. You know, be a lone wolf.
Yeah, I think it works how it is. To be fair,
It's pretty good.
but in this film there is so many funny lines,
Yeah.
so many brilliant ones. Scott and Knives are in the library, and Scott says, "Libraries remind me of grade school," and then she says, "Oh, that must be a very long time ago," and he's like, "Can we talk about something else?" Scott asks Ramona to come to the battle of the bands, and she says, she says, "Oh, you have a band?" Like, "Yeah, we're terrible. Please come."
I like the you've got to what was it? You've got to tell her the L word. Lesbians. I like that.
No, the other L word.
Lesbian. Yeah, that was it. Lesbian.
Lesbians?
Yeah, lesbian, and he's like, lesbians. I'm in lesbians with you.
And
What?
then, yeah, I'm in lesbians with you. I'm like, no, I mean, I'm in love with you. I love how like the script like mixes up the words, and there's another one. I got to pee on her. I mean, I got to pee. Yeah. No vegan diet, no vegan powers. We are Sex Bomb, and we're here to make you think about death and feel sad and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. What was it? To the person in the top row, we wrote this song for you. It's what was it? It's We Hate You, Please Die.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
Once you were vegan, now you will be gone. Vegan? I like when he first meets Chris Evans' character, and he's filming a scene, and he's like, "I'm talking to you, Scott Pilgrim," and he just walks up to him and beats the shit out of him. He just looks at Ramona, and he's like, "He seems nice."
Yeah, and then he like throws him into the castle and falls, and he says, "Scott, ex-boyfriend, fight."
Yeah, I like that.
Oh yeah. And when he sees Roxy for the first time, the third Evil X girl, and she says, "I'd love to postpone, darling, but I've cast my last rain check." And then Scott's like, "What's that from?" "My brain."
Yeah, I like that. That was funny.
Yeah, it was so hard to pick a favourite one, but I think my favourite one was just simply, "Bread makes you fat."
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, have you got a favourite one then?
Oh, I think like when he's finished fighting Nega Scott, and they just come out and they've just been talking. And he's like, "How did it go?" "Oh, he's a nice guy. You were actually going to meet for coffee like later." I thought that was funny. It was like, yeah, that was really funny.
Yeah, great like fake out there. You think oh cool, we're going to get another fight.
Yeah.
It was interesting what Edgar Wright was saying. He was just like, I think with audiences, they were kind of relieved they weren't going to get another fight scene.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, God.
Yeah, I'm all fighting out. This is...
I'm kind of glad now.
Yeah. I thought that was really funny.
But yeah, I love the fake out there. That was cool. So script wise, I think it's just interesting, having the debate with the fact that, who gets with who at the end. That's always quite interesting. But yeah, the way the film is structured is so cool. The fact that Scott has to battle through 7 people to get to finally be with Ramona. Yeah, I really like it. I mean, endlessly quotable, bread makes you fat. I mean, it's just so funny. So, yeah, I'm going to go like 8.8 for me.
Okay.
How about you, sir?
I think I'll go like 8.5.
All right, acting then. I think Michael Cera, who plays Scott, is really cool. We don't see much of Michael Cera these days, to be fair, do we?
No. Seems to have disappeared off the face of the earth, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you can cast him in much other than with roles like this, to be fair.
Wasn't he in the film?
Oh,
God damn it! He was in that apocalyptic film with Seth Rogen.
This is the end.
This is the end. Yeah. Do you see him in that?
No, I've not seen that.
Oh, okay.
No.
He was funny in that because he played himself, and he is in the film. He's a party animal who does loads of drugs, like grabs Rihanna's ass. He what was it? Throws a bunch of drugs into somebody's face. He's like doesn't act how you think he would. Yeah. I hope he's like that in real life. That would be amazing.
Mm.
But, yeah, you don't see him at all.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't see him at all now.
Yeah. But one thing he can do is like really awkward acting.
Yeah.
Get this really awkward atmosphere from Michael Cera,
Yeah.
especially when he meets Ramona for the first time at the party. And he's like repeating the Pac-Man story to her, and he's like stumbling all over it.
Yeah.
And he's like crushing the red paper cup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to go now. I'll never speak to you again.
But like the camera level is really interesting as well, because it's just kind of really, it's very high up. The camera level is quite high, and you have like these 2 balloons, 2 black balloons like at the top of the screen, which yes implies something else. But yeah, it's just a really great awkward scene there from Michael Cera.
Yeah.
But I think one cameo that really steals this film is Chris Evans as Lucas Lee, the insane action star.
Cocky
I can
as
love
hell.
the bit when he literally comes out of his trailer and literally cracks his neck to the Universal theme. That was brilliant.
Yeah, that was funny. I like how he kind of convinces him to go down the, skate down the stairs. He's like, "Can you do
Grind?"
Yeah, grind. Yeah, I like that whole scene. That was quite funny. He was like, "What was it? Can you board good?" And he's like, "I own a boarding company." He's like, "Can you do a thingy down the steps? It's called a grind.
Thingy.
Can you do a grind thingy?" He goes, "You think you're going to bait me into such a dangerous thing?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, there are girls watching. Give me my board."
Yeah. Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, no,
Chris Evans is incredible.
Yeah, he's really funny.
Steals the show. And all his like stunt doubles. It's a great shot, actually. We didn't really talk about, but when he's being beaten up by Michael Cera's being beaten up by all the stunt doubles, and then it kind of like tracks away to Chris Evans's character, and then when he turns around, like, you see that Michael Cera's just like beating up the rest of the stunt doubles. So I thought that was really clever.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Kind of like a nice slow directional reveal there, which is a bit of a change of pace for the film, which I really enjoyed. It's not all laughs, I think. There's a really great moment of heart and feeling in this film where Scott takes out Brandon Routh's character, and Scott says to Brie Larson, his, the first ex for him, Scott says, "I guess we're even now, Natalie." And then I love Brie Larson's performance when she says, "Natalie, no one calls me that anymore." And she's like, yeah, she used to be someone else and not this horrible, like, rock star, Envy Adams, who's just horrible, and it's just like, oh yeah, her thing is like being, this horrible rock star in this film. She's kind of been consumed by it, kind of thing. She's kind of like a super villain, if you will, in this comic book world, and she's just been like snapped out of it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's how I saw it, anyway. I thought that was quite clever and just quite heartfelt.
Mm.
And one of my probably my third favorite fight is between Scott and Roxy. Where it starts off with Ramona fighting Roxy, where she's got like a massive hammer, and she's got like, I don't know what you would call it,
or whatever.
just like a whip full of knives or something.
Yeah.
That was really well done.
Yeah.
You know, and the head of the hammer is like all 8-bit. It's brilliant. And but obviously the only way they can take out Roxy is if Scott takes her out, and Michael Cera's like, I'm not sure I can hit a girl, and then Ramona literally uses Michael Cera as a puppet to punch and kick Roxy. That was great, and I thought that must take a lot of rehearsal and a lot. You have to be in such sync to get that right. I thought that was really, really satisfying to watch. That. Do you like that fight as well? I think that's probably my third best fight.
Yeah. I thought that
maybe
was
joint
really
second.
fight.
To be fair, I thought it was great.
Yeah, that was a good fight. That was that was a lot of fun. And it's good to see Ramona kick some ass as well. So
a tad problematic that literally Michael Cera kills her with an orgasm.
With an orgasm, yeah. She
tickling her at the back of her knee.
She came and went at the
Back of
same
her
time.
knee, but there we go.
Yeah. So any guys listening, that's how you can please your woman. Back of the knee. And she will...
If you're in a comic book world.
Exactly. She'll come so hard she'll die. Scientifically accurate. Trust us, we're doctors.
Any other bits you liked acting-wise?
I liked Ramona. Like, mysterious. Very mysterious.
Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Yeah, she's very mysterious and kind of cool and aloof and sarcastic. And yeah, I don't know. She's quite fun.
She's very much like the straight one in this film, you know. It's not a big open performance from her. I think you need that. You need one of those characters in this type of film.
Also the villain, Gideon, as well. I like Gideon.
Jason Schwartzman, yeah. Because there's a line where he says, "You made me swallow my gum."
That'll be in my digestive tract for 7 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Apparently he literally swallowed gum for real, like 10 times.
Oh my god.
I was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
That's going too far.
Yeah, I think even though because he's the villain and he's kind of barely in it, but he does give like quite a fun performance. Like I did quite like him. I quite liked.
Yeah, very memorable.
Very memorable. Yeah, the guy that plays Gideon. Yeah, I think he's probably up there. I love the when he's dying and he's like, "Do you know how long it took to get all of those exes' contact information? 2 hours."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so good.
I mean, if it was 2.5 hours, then maybe I'll give him some sympathy. But come on.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just it's funny.
Again, there's another like straight performance from Alison Pill, who plays Kim. I thought she was great at times. Another like ex-girlfriend of Scott. There's a lot of exes in this film.
Yeah,
on both sides. But there's kind of a cool bit at the end, like pre the first fight.
Scott doesn't kill any of his.
The power of love, where she says, "We are Sex Bob-omb, and we are here to make money and sell out and stuff."
Yeah, I like that.
And she's doing it while she scratches her nose and giving the finger.
Yeah,
it's like, that is such a teenage thing to do. We've all done that.
Yeah.
So, have you got a favorite performance?
I think I'm going to give it to Gideon. I think
Jason Schwartzman.
Yeah,
Cool.
I tend to gravitate towards bad guys, and he's quite a fun bad guy.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with a bad guy as well, to be fair. Chris Evans as Lucas Lee.
Yeah.
I want to see some of those Lucas Lee films, man.
Yeah.
Apparently Edgar Wright got lots of messages saying, "I want to see this Lucas Lee film. Make it happen." I'm like, I'm not superhuman.
Man.
Yeah, Chris Evans seriously steals the show in that particular scene. He's fucking brilliant.
Yeah, he is good.
So funny. So, score Boaz for acting.
I think I'm going to give it like an 8.
8?
Yeah.
Solid 8?
Yeah, solid 8.
Everyone's really good in this, to be fair. They're all really solid, really funny. They're all amazingly funny. There's a few standouts that go completely over the top, but it's just so satisfying to watch. You know, Michael Cera's great, Elizabeth Winstead, Jason Schwartzman. It's a great cast as well. Anna Kendrick has a few cool little scenes. So I'll go like 8.2, I think. Right, let's add up the scores then for Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Scott Pilgrim gets 51.3.
Oh, that's a pretty good one.
Mr. Scott and the World beat Monsters and Aliens with 51.3, and Monsters vs. Aliens gets 41.8.
Wow. Yeah, that was a slaughter.
Bit of a landslide there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So next week we will be talking LGBTQ films, as the film The World to Come will be hitting Netflix, so it'll be interesting. There's been an incredible amount of amazing films in this particular genre, so it'll be interesting to see what we pick. That's it this week. Cheers, Boaz. As ever, you've been rather good.
Thanks.
And I've been incredible.
Yeah. No, you haven't. What the hell are you talking about? No. No.
Bye.
No, now we're going to fight. Don't buy me. Boaz versus Martin. Kick your ass.
Fight.
Yeah.
Fatality. A clue to a podcast that's coming soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, bye.
That's it for this week's pod. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. If you would like to find out more about the podcast or suggest future topics for us to discuss related to upcoming releases, let us know on Instagram at Film vs. Film Podcast or on Twitter at FVF_podcast. Remember, please subscribe. Pod signing off.